Howdy folks, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to recap Donnie Darko, a sci-fi fantasy directed by Richard Kelly. This mysterious film explores the themes of time travel, religion, love, and fear, as we view it through the perspective of a boy named Donnie Darko. Here be spoilers, so viewers beware. The movie opens with a boy called Donnie Darko, waking up in the middle of the road in the hills of Virginia as the sun comes up. He cycles back down the hill through the town to his home. At the dinner table that evening, Donnie argues with his older sister, Elizabeth, who reveals in front of his family that Donnie has stopped taking his medication. He argues with his mom over it, but takes his meds that evening. When he goes to sleep, a voice tells Donnie to wake up. He starts to sleepwalk downstairs and goes outside the house. He sleepwalks to the end of the golf course where he finds a humanoid rabbit creature standing there. It tells Donnie the world is going to end in 28 days, 6 hours, 22 minutes, and 12 seconds. Back at home, the house is rocked by an explosion. He wakes up on a golf course and sees the timer for the world's end drawn on his arm. He returns home to find a plane's engine has crashed into his house, destroying his bedroom. His family are put up into a hotel. When he gets to school, Donnie has become the talk of the town for surviving the crash into his bedroom. In his English class, he meets Gretchen, a girl who is new to the school. The teacher tells her to sit next to the cutest boy, and she chooses Donnie. While Donnie is in the car, they almost run over an old lady in the middle of the road. Donnie gets out of the car to check on her, but she whispers to him, "Every living creature on this earth dies alone." We next see Donnie at an appointment with a psychiatrist, Dr. Thurman. Donnie tells Dr. Thurman about his visions of the rabbit, whom he calls Frank. He tells her about the prophecy about the end of the world. While in class, Donnie hears a voice telling him to pay attention to the man on screen, Jim Cunningham. That night, Donnie sleepwalks again and sees Frank in his dreams. Donnie carries an axe into a dark room and chops a metal water pipe. While waiting at the bus stop, they discover that the school is closed due to flooding from a burst water main. We also see an axe embedded into the statue at the school and the writing on the floor saying, "They made me do it." On his way back, Donnie spots Gretchen being harassed by 2 school bullies, and he walks her home. She tells him about why they moved to the area, to get away from her stepdad. Donnie tells her about his own troubled past and asks her out. Donnie continues to have therapy with Dr. Thurman, who tries hypnosis on him. She asks him about school, but all Donnie can talk about is sex. At school, the police are investigating who vandalized the school and caused the flooding, and they begin to suspect Donnie. Donnie goes out shooting with his friends, and they have philosophical discussions about Smurfs. Donnie spots the old lady in the road, Grandma Death, almost getting run over again. They say she spends all her days standing in the road and checking her mail. Meanwhile, Donnie's gym teacher, Katie Farmer, blames the act of vandalism on his English teacher and the story she assigned them to read. Donnie hears Frank's voice and sees him in the mirror. He tells Donnie he can do anything he wants. Frank asks Donnie if he believes in time travel before he is interrupted by his little sister. Donnie's gym teacher attempts to introduce attitude lessons through videos of a motivational speaker called Jim Cunningham and a concept based around fear and love. Johnny defies his teacher and tries to explain that life can't be explained in a simple linear line. Theme. This is an important scene that openly explores the theme of fear and love that exists in the film. Donnie fears the rabbit and loves Gretchen. Donnie later talks about his fear of being alone too. It is fear that drives many of Ms. Farmer's actions. Donnie asks his science teacher about time travel. The teacher gives him a book called The Philosophy of Time Travel. Throughout the rest of the film, we see pages on the book appear on the screen as Donnie reads through them. Donnie meets with his therapist again and talks about what Grandma Death said to him before about being alone. He tells her that he is scared of dying alone. After studying the book, Donnie starts to perceive the future, and he sees bubbles which show him where people will move to. A bubble forms in front of him, and he follows it to the closet where he finds a handgun. There are now 12 days left until the predicted end of the world. Donnie's parents visit the therapist, Dr. Thurman, who explains that Donnie is becoming increasingly detached from reality. She tells him about his visions of a giant bunny rabbit. Meanwhile, Donnie sees Frank in the mirror again and tries to stab him with a knife. Dr. Thurman suggests increasing Donnie's medication to help him deal with his visions. Jim Cunningham speaks at the school. When he is invited to speak, Donnie has another outburst and insults Jim. Later, he tells Gretchen about the book he is reading and has been describing his visions. They both talk about how they wish they could go back and change their troubled past. Donnie finds a wallet on the ground and discovers it belongs to Jim Cunningham, finding out where he lives. Donnie goes on a date with Gretchen to the cinema. While they are in the theater, Donnie starts to hallucinate and sees Frank sitting with them in the cinema. Frank takes his mask off and reveals his face, with one eye shot out. Frank tells Donnie to burn Cunningham's house to the ground. While Cunningham is busy hosting a show, Donnie spreads gasoline around his house and sets it alight before heading back to the cinema. Firefighters turn up to investigate the house, and they discover a stash of child pornography in the basement, and Cunningham is arrested. The arrest is broadcast on the local news. Back at the school, Donnie's English teacher has been fired, but allowed to finish the rest of the week. In her next class, Donnie rails against the idea that in the book they are reading, Watership Down, the rabbits represent humans. Theme: this is another important moment in the film. Donnie says that rabbits have no history, no sorrow, or regret. He talks about the primeval nature of rabbits and that they simply reproduce and die without fear of death. This ties into the theme of fear and its purpose in life. Does fear of death make you care more when someone dies? Is it fear of death the reasons humans place so much importance on history, sorrow, and regret? Donnie refuses to accept the ideas that his teachers believe in about the human condition. Meanwhile, Kitty Farmer has decided to defend Cunningham against the charges and asks Donnie's mom if she will take out the dance team to the event. Donnie's dad is also going to be out of town, so Donnie and Elizabeth are left on their own. During therapy, when Dr. Thurman is hypnotizing Donnie, he admits to burning down Cunningham's house and flooding the school. He then sees Frank standing in the room. Donnie and Elizabeth decide to host a Halloween costume party. Gretchen arrives and tells Donnie that her mother has gone missing. Donnie comforts her as they go up to the bedroom together. Donnie begins to see the bubbles in front of people and has a deep vision. He realizes that the predicted end of the world is only hours away, and he takes Gretchen and two others to look for Grandma Death at her house. When they get there, two boys from his school are trying to rob her and ambush Donnie and Gretchen. The two others run off while the one boy holds a knife to Donnie's throat. Suddenly, a car swerves to avoid Grandma Death and runs Gretchen over, killing her. The driver is Elizabeth's boyfriend, Frank, wearing the rabbit costume from Donnie's vision. Donnie shoots Frank in the eye and takes Gretchen's body home. When he gets there, he sees a dark cloud in the sky forming into a vortex. He drives up the hills near his town and watches it from afar, seeing the full scale of it all. The plane his mom and sister are in get caught up in the vortex and time seems to rewind. Donnie wakes up and it is the 2nd of October, the date where he first woke up on the golf course. He laughs and goes back to sleep. This time he is in bed when he is crushed and killed by the engine that crashes into his bedroom. Around town, those who have been affected by Donnie in the last month wake up from their dreams, looking scared and confused. Gretchen cycles past Darko's house. In this timeline, she had never met Donnie. She and Donnie's mother seem to recognize each other without remembering why, and they wave to each other as the film ends on a somber note. Donnie Darko is a complex film that uses the concept of time travel throughout it in the order of its narrative. The plot in itself has wormholes where Donnie travels through time or sees things out of time. He sees Frank with an eye shot out before he shoots it and sees bubbles where people will be. Finally, events are changed by his death. They never happen again. All the bad things that happen to characters, Cunningham's arrest, the English teacher being fired, Gretchen's death, are undone because Donnie dies. This links into a common fan theory about Donnie being the symbolism of Christ, sacrificing his life for their sins. Religious themes are woven prominently throughout the film. Ms. Farmer is a devout Christian who talks about righteousness, love, and fear. The movie Donnie and Gretchen watched together is called The Last Temptation of Christ, and even the bunny is symbolic of Easter, the Christian celebration of Jesus' crucifixion and resurrection. Another aspect is the impending apocalypse, a common religious theme that one day the world will end. The film also can be seen as a commentary on conformity and connection to the world. Donnie is constantly fighting against others and questioning what others believe in. He stands up for what he thinks is right. However, he is increasingly disconnected from the real world as his visions increase. This disconnection is portrayed through much of the movie's filming direction. On multiple occasions, roaming shots around the town and school have only the sound of music playing, and they are close up, slow-motion moments of people living, interacting with each other, as the camera pans between them in one fluid take. This gives the viewer the perspective of Donnie, seeing everyone else living their lives, but only witnessing it in a disconnected way, almost a ghost around them. For some viewers, this has led to the theory that Donnie was always dead, and he is a ghost in the film, somewhere in between life and death. Thank you for watching. Do you have any theories about the film? Comment below and share your ideas. Please remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel. See you next time.